D-Lo 404 Boxing. Alright, y'all, so I'm seeing a lot of people making videos and posts talking about the WBC suspended Adrian Broner for comments he made back in 2014, and a lot of people are reporting it as if it just happened. I even seen an article on Ring TV, I think it's ringtv.com, where they reposted it, or it pulls up as if it's a new article, although the article's from like somewhere along May 7th, May 10th of 2014. Now, don't get me wrong, I have nothing but disdain and ill will toward the WBC and Mauricio Suleiman. I want them out of boxing like I want to hit $4 million in the lottery, you know what I'm saying? I don't feel like they're doing anything they're doing that was good for the sport of boxing or seemed to be good for the sport of boxing. They've undone it. You know, the clean boxing program was one thing that you looked at as, hey, the WBC is doing the right thing here. They're trying to clean up the sport. But then when it's certain fighters who fail drug tests, they circumvent their own rules and they undermine their own testing association, an organization that they, partner with for the clean boxing program. So to me, it's, if you have a program that you're going to undermine when it's convenient for certain fighters, you might as well not have a program at all. That's my position on that. WBC with all these titles, all this nonsense, the franchise, the franchise titles they created, those are bogus. Just a whole bunch of stuff. It's just a litany of things that the WBC does that, basically just reeks of corruption, okay? But on this one here, I didn't agree with it when it happened back in 2014. It was some BS. Adrian Broner had been saying the same thing over and over for like 2 years at that time. And for some reason, the WBC got all sensitive about it after he beat Molina and pretty much said the same thing he was saying after all his matches or in interviews, upcoming fights, whatever, about anybody can get it, and he'll beat Africans, African Americans, Dominicans, whatever, Mexicans and Puerto Ricans, you know what I'm saying? It was basically just going in line with his slogan, his mantra. And for whatever reason, the WBC chose, I think it was on May 7th, they chose to suspend him. I think that fight happened on May 4th. I may have the date, off a day or two. But anyway, the WBC chose to suspend him. And the fact that they done that even back then, regardless of how long it was, it's a double standard. It's clear prejudice on their part, on their behalf, to handle certain fighters a certain way and handle other fighters another way. It's like they handle these Mexican fighters with kid gloves. When something's not right, it's like, oh, let's look into it, And a lot of this stuff, in my opinion, with them and their history with coddling certain fighters, has a lot to do with the issues they had with Canelo, in part, because when Canelo dropped their belt because he didn't want to fight Triple G or whatever, they got stripped. I think he got stripped or whatever the case was. Whatever the case may have been, he didn't want to fight Triple G. They were pressuring him to fight Triple G or strip him. And that was when all the friction between Canelo and the WBC began. And then ever since then, they've been like kissing Canelo's behind, playing makeup, trying to stay in his good graces. But, and the thing about it is, even in the article that that from badlefthook.com from back in May of 2014, they talk about, and I don't know that this is their quote or they're quoting someone else, but it basically states that, for whatever reason, the WBC chose to, basically suspend Broner at that time for something that he had been doing. It was something that, basically it wasn't really merited. It was like fake outrage, in my opinion. But, they're just saying that here's how it closes, right? It says, it's worth noting that the WBC, which has had countless moments in history where boxing fans and media raised some eyebrows at the very least due to their bogus, ridiculous decisions, also once suspended Chris Arreola, who coincidentally happens to be a Mexican American, for cussing. And Floyd Mayweather, a WBC champion for many years, had never been suspended by the organization for any reason whatsoever. You know, and I'm not saying that I agree with that statement in terms of like I feel like they should have suspended Floyd, or I feel like they shouldn't. Well, I don't feel like they should have suspended Areola for cussing. I mean, he was passionate about what he was saying. I remember that. It was after the Klitschko loss. You know, he was very disappointed in himself in his performance. And, you know, he was passionate about what he was saying, and he cursed. You know what I'm saying? He did the same. He basically did the same thing after the Andy Ruiz fight, you know, a few months back. Didn't warrant him getting suspended. But my point is, and even with the Floyd, you know, situation, you know what I'm saying? I can't really say that they should have suspended Floyd or shouldn't have. But I do know that these fighters who are failing these drug tests need to be suspended. And the WBC is not conducting themselves professionally. They're not being consistent with how they're treating situations and circumstances in certain cases. And it's just time for the WBC to move on. But, you know, one thing that I won't do is just go ahead and just run with it and say that, hey, yeah, they just suspended Broner, you know, for something that happened many years ago, just for the sake of, you know what I'm saying, keeping something going that, you know, isn't exactly, you know what I'm saying, isn't really accurate. But at the end of the day, the harm was done. You know what I'm saying? They shouldn't have suspended Broner way back then for something so simple. And they made it into a race issue when it wasn't a race issue. You know what I'm saying? They made it into a, you know, like it was some discriminatory statement that he made when it really wasn't. And actually, his statement he made, he talked about inclusion. He talked about he was an equal opportunity ass whooper. That's basically what he was saying. So it didn't really make sense for them to suspend him for that. And it's shameful that they suspended him for that. But then here it is, all these years later, and in all these years in between, where you had fighters failing drug tests, and the WBC has mishandled the situations on many instances. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to leave it at that. That's all I got on the D-Lo 404 Boxing. Like, share, comment, subscribe. I'm out. Peace.